To access free topic sheets, worksheets, or to book an online class, visit ilearneasy.co.uk. A, an, the. A and an are known as indefinite articles. The is known as a definite article. Articles come before a noun and are used to modify the noun. They give basic information about the noun being referred to. We can identify whether the noun being referred to is a singular or a plural noun, or if the noun is a specific noun or a general noun. The indefinite articles are a and an. These articles are used to refer to general singular nouns. The difference is that the indefinite article a is used before a word beginning with a consonant. For example, a book. The letter B is a consonant. Other examples include a car, a bike, a dog, a house, etc. The indefinite article an is used before a word beginning with a vowel. For example, an elephant. The letter E is a vowel. Other examples include an alligator, an insect, an octopus, an umbrella, etc. The definite article is the. This article is used with specific singular and plural nouns. We usually use the definite article when we already know the noun being referred to. It can also be used when talking about something that there is only one of. For example, the earth. Other examples include the sky, the box, the United Kingdom, the information, etc. Am, is, are. These are the present tense forms of the verb to be. The form used will depend on the subject. Remember, the subject is who is doing the action. Therefore, we need the correct subject-verb agreement. Here is a table to summarize everything you need to know. Am is used with the subject I. The positive form is I am, or we can use the contraction I'm. The negative form is I am not, or we can use the contraction I'm not. When forming a question, we place the verb at the beginning of the question. For example, am I? The verb is used for singular nouns. A singular noun refers to one person, place, or thing. He, she, it, or a name of a person. The positive form is the subject plus is. For example, he is, she is, it is. Or we can use the contraction, he's, she's, its. The negative form is the subject plus is not. He is not, she is not, it is not. Or we can say, he's not, she's not, it's not. We can also use the contraction isn't. He isn't, she isn't, it isn't. When forming a question, we place the verb at the beginning of the question. Is he? Is she? Is it? Are is used for plural nouns and subject you, we, they. A plural noun refers to more than one person, place, or thing. The positive form is the subject plus are. You are, we are, they are. Or we can use the contraction your, where, their. The negative form is the subject plus are not. You are not, we are not, they are not. Or we can use the contraction you're not, we're not, they're not. We can also use aren't. You aren't, we aren't, they aren't. When forming a question, we place the verb at the beginning of the question. Are you? Are we? Are they? Now let's look through some examples. First, let's look at the verb am. The positive form example is I am late or I'm late. The negative form example is I am not late or I'm not late. The question is, am I late? Now let's look at the verb is. The positive form examples are he is a student, he's a student. She is a nurse, she's a nurse. It is raining, it's raining. The question is it raining? The negative form examples are he is not a student or he's not a student. She is not a nurse. She's not a nurse. It is not raining. It's not raining. Or we can say, it isn't raining. Now let's look at the verb are. You are funny. You're funny. We are at home. We're at home. They are my books. They're my books. The question is, are they your books? The negative form examples are you are not funny or you're not funny. We are not at home. We're not at home. They are not my books. They're not my books. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. This means a large number or amount of something. So it just means many, or it can even refer to how often you do something. For example, she has a lot of rings. She has a large number of rings. She has many rings. They all mean the same thing. Another example is, I have a lot of friends at school. You may also see a lot written as lots of. This means the same thing. I have lots of friends at school. I dance a lot. A lot. This is a verb and it means to give, to share, or to assign something for a purpose. This may sound confusing, but it's very simple. Let's go through some examples. I allot a percentage of my salary to charity. Here it means I give a percentage of my salary to charity. Each student was allotted 5 minutes. This means each student was given or assigned a specific amount of time, 5 minutes. Allot. This is a common misspelling. There should be a space between the A and lot. Like this. Accept, accept, accept. Accept is a verb. It can mean to agree to something, to believe something, or to receive something. For example, she accepted the job offer. He accepts that he isn't always right. Can you accept my apology? Accept. Accept can be a preposition, conjunction, or a verb. As a preposition, it means but. As a conjunction, it means only or with the exception. Except is often followed by that, if, or when. For example, everyone except Sam is coming to the party. I would have gone to school today, except that I wasn't feeling well. Alter, alter. Notice that they have the same pronunciation, but the meanings are different. Alter is a verb. It means to change something or to make something different. For example, I had to alter my diet to lose weight. Can we alter the time of the meeting? Alter. Alter is a noun. It refers to an elongated table or stand that's usually found in religious buildings such as a temple or a church. For example, the religious leader stood behind the altar to give a talk. Samuel cleans the altar every week. Altogether, altogether. Altogether. Altogether is an adverb. Remember that adverbs modify adjectives, verbs, or other adverbs. Altogether means completely or in total. This refers to everyone or everything as a whole. Notice that altogether is one word. For example, she had 10 children altogether. So here, I can replace altogether with in total. She had 10 children in total. Another example is, he avoided sugar altogether. Again, I can replace the word altogether with completely. He avoided sugar completely. Altogether. Altogether is a phrase. It means all in one place or in a group at the same time. Essentially, it means when people or things are with each other. For example, we had an amazing time at the party because we were all together. Here I can also say we had an amazing time at the party because we were with each other. The guests gathered all together in the house. Again, I can replace all together with each other. The guests gathered with each other in the house. Anyway, anyway, anyway. Anyway can be used for a few different reasons. The first is it can mean regardless, nonetheless, or in any case. For example, I don't like exercising, but I must do it anyway. Although designer bags are expensive, people buy them anyway. Secondly, it can be used to show the continuation of a story that was interrupted. For example, anyway, as I was saying, my exam is on Monday. Anyway. This means by any means or in any manner. For example, although Andy crashed his car, he wasn't hurt in any way. The only way to get students to listen is to bribe them in any way. A part, a part. A part is one word and a part is two words. These words sound the same and are commonly confused. However, they mean different things and are used in different contexts. A part. A part is an adverb. It refers to the separation of two or more things. This can be a separation by distance. For example, we must stand 2 meters apart. It can also refer to a separation by time. For example, my children were born 2 years apart. Lastly, it can refer to physically separating something or if something is broken and it's fallen apart. For example, I had to take my watch apart in order to fix it. This just means that I had to separate the different parts of the watch in order to fix it. A part can also be used as an adjective. As an adjective, it means separation or isolation. For example, we live apart. Essentially, this just means we live separately. Lastly, a part can be used as a preposition. As a preposition, it means except for or besides. For example, apart from the extremely hot weather, I really enjoyed the summer holidays. Note that when it's used as a preposition, it's commonly followed by the word from. Apart from. A part. A part is made up of the article a and part, which is a noun. This is a phrase and it refers to a piece of something. So, it's one part of a whole or one part of a larger group. A part is usually used with the preposition of, so it becomes a part of. For example, she ate a part of my sandwich. Another example is, he was a part of the football club. It's important to note that we don't always have to use the article a before part. So if we take it out, the sentence still makes sense. She ate part of my sandwich. He was part of the football club. So the sentences are still correct if we remove the article. We usually use the article a in cases where it's followed by an adjective. For example, she ate a big part of my sandwich. So in this example, the adjective is big. He was a vital part of the football club. Vital is the adjective. Assume, presume. Assume. Assume is a verb. It means to suppose something without any evidence. For example, if my phone rings, then I might say, I assume it's my cousin Yasmin calling. But I'm only assuming, as I don't really have any evidence that it could be her. Another example is, I assume you always wake up early. Presume. Presume is a verb. It means to suppose something with some evidence or probability. For example, if my phone rings at 6 p.m. and I know that my cousin Yasmin rings me every day at 6 p.m., then I can presume that it will be her. So, I presume it's Yasmin calling. Another example is, I presume she's a teacher. Bought, brought. They both sound similar as they have the ought sound. However, they have different spellings and different meanings. These are both irregular verbs. This means they don't follow the usual rule of ending in d, ed, or ied when forming the past tense or past participle. The base form of the verb is buy. This means to get something by paying money for it. The past tense and past participle of the verb is bought. The base form of the verb is bring. This means to carry or to take someone or something to a place. The past tense and past participle of the verb is brought. Bought. This is the past tense form of the verb buy, which means to get something by paying money for it. For example, I bought an expensive handbag yesterday. She bought a new car. They bought their house last year. He bought a pair of trainers. Brought. This is the past tense form of the verb bring, which means to carry or take someone or something to a place. For example, the waiter brought the food to our table. The film brought tears to my eyes. She brought the bag of vegetables to my house. He brought his friends to the party. An easy way to identify the difference is to remember the letter R in bring and brought. Breath, breathe, breath. Breath is a noun. It refers to the air that goes into and out of the lungs. For example, a side effect of the tablets was shortness of breath. I ran out of breath after running. Breathe. Breathe is a verb. It refers to the process of inhaling and exhaling air. For example, breathe in slowly through your nose. We breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Cause, effect. In this video, we will learn the difference between the cause and effect. Cause refers to why something happens. Effect refers to what happens as a result. In a sentence, the cause can come first, followed by the effect, or the effect can come first, followed by the cause. We can use signal words to help us identify the cause and the effect. Some examples of signal words that introduce the cause are as a result of, because, since. Some examples of signal words that introduce the effect are hence, so, therefore. Now let's look at some examples. John was unwell, so he went to the hospital. In this example, the cause comes first, followed by the effect. The signal word so helps us identify that the effect is being introduced. The sentence can also be written as John went to the hospital because he was unwell. In this example, the effect comes first, followed by the cause. The signal word because helps us identify that the cause is being introduced. Another example is, I didn't eat breakfast, hence I am very hungry. In this example, the cause comes first, followed by the effect. The signal word hence helps us identify that the effect is being introduced. The sentence can also be written as, I am very hungry because I didn't eat breakfast. In this example, the effect comes first, followed by the cause. The signal word because helps us identify that the cause is being introduced. An easy way to remember the difference is to ask, why did this happen, or what caused this to happen? The answer to this question will give you the cause. Then you can ask, what was the result of the cause? The answer to this question will give you the effect. Change, exchange. In this lesson, we will learn the difference between these two words. Change. Change is a verb and it means to make something different. For example, did you change your hair color? I changed the light bulb. Exchange. Exchange is a verb and it means to give something and to receive something in return. For example, we exchanged phone numbers. So here, if you exchange your phone number with someone, then you give your number to the person and they give you their number. Another example is, I'll clean your room in exchange for the chocolate bar. Chef, chief. In this lesson, I will go through the difference between these two words. Chef. Chef can be a noun or a verb. As a noun, it refers to a professional cook. For example, she is a chef. He's been a chef for 10 years. Chef is less commonly used as a verb. It refers to the act of working as a chef. This is informal. For example, I chefed in a restaurant in Spain for 3 years. Chief. Chief can be used as a noun or an adjective. As a noun, it refers to a leader or ruler. So this is just someone who leads other people or is in charge of a group of other people. For example, she reported the missing books to the chief librarian. As an adjective, it means the most important. For example, ignorance was the chief reason for his mistakes. So here I'm saying that ignorance was the main or the most important thing that led him to make his mistakes. The verb do is a very common word used in English. Therefore, it's important to know and to understand how to use it correctly. Do is the present tense form of the verb. The present tense form of the verb differs depending on the subject in the sentence. So we either use do or does. Remember, the subject is the person or thing doing the action. For subjects I, you, we, they, or any plural noun, we use do. The negative form is don't. This is the contraction for do not. For subjects he, she, it, or any singular noun, we use does. The negative form is doesn't. This is the contraction for does not. First, let's start off with the present tense forms, do and does. As already mentioned, the subject will determine which form of the verb is used. Therefore, this will ensure that we have the correct subject-verb agreement. For subjects I, you, we, they, I use the verb do. The negative form is do not, or I can use the contraction don't. When forming the question, the verb comes at the beginning. Do I? Do you? Do we? Do they? For subjects he, she, it, I use the verb does. The negative form is does not. Or I can use the contraction doesn't. When forming the question, the verb comes at the beginning. Does he? Does she? Does it? It's important to note that we don't always need to use do or does when forming positive sentences. For example, I exercise every day. Here we have the main verb, which is exercise. When forming the negative, I would say, I do not exercise every day. So here I have the subject, I, followed by the helping verb, do, and the main verb, which is exercise. So in this case, do is a helping verb because it's helping the main verb. Another example is, he sings every day. He doesn't sing every day, or he does not sing every day. And the question would be, does he sing every day? So in summary, we use the helping verbs do and does when forming negative sentences and questions, but we don't need to use them in positive sentences where there's already a main verb. In the next examples, I will show you how to use do as a main verb. I do my homework. I do not do my homework. You do the dishes. You do not do the dishes. Or you don't do the dishes. We do the laundry. We don't do the laundry. Do they do the housework? He does the laundry. He doesn't do the laundry. She does the dishes. She doesn't do the dishes. Does he do the housework? To summarize, do, does, and did can be used as auxiliary verbs. These are known as helping verbs. They're used as helping verbs when forming a negative sentence and a question. For example, do you study every day? I don't study every day. So here, both helping verbs are helping the main verbs. Do, does, and did can also be used as a main verb in a sentence. For example, does he do the laundry? He does the laundry. As you can see in these examples, there are two forms of the verb do in the question. The first form, does, is used as a helping verb, and the second form, do, is used as the main verb. Do, does, and did can also be used to emphasize a point. For example, if you forgot to bring your homework into school and now your teacher thinks that you didn't actually finish it, then you might say, "No, I did finish my homework." So you're emphasizing the fact that you did actually do it. It's important to remember that if a sentence already has a main verb or a helping verb, then we don't need to add the verb do. For example, I can swim. So the helping verb in this sentence is the modal verb can. So I wouldn't say, I can swim. The sentence is correct as it is. I can swim. This also applies to other helping verbs. For example, have. I wouldn't say, I have washed the dishes. Instead, the correct way is to say, I have washed the dishes. Lastly, the verb to be in a sentence doesn't require a helping verb. The forms of the verb to be are am, is, are, was, or were. For example, I am a librarian. So I don't need to add anything else to this sentence. During, while. In this lesson, I will go through the difference between these two words. Essentially, they both mean the same thing. They refer to something that occurs at the same time as something else. This can be in the present or past tense. It's important to note that they mean the same thing, but the grammar is different. Therefore, we use them in different ways. During. During is a preposition, and it is always followed by a noun. So the sentence structure is during plus a noun. For example, he fell asleep during the movie. During can also go at the start of the sentence, so I can say, during the movie, he fell asleep. Another example is, I take notes during class. Again, I can put during at the start of the sentence and say, during class, I take notes. While. While is a conjunction. The sentence structure for while can be while plus subject plus a verb, or while plus a gerund. A gerund is the ing form of the verb, like swimming, singing, listening, etc. For example, he fell asleep while he was watching the movie. While can go at the beginning of the sentence or in the middle. So in this example, it's in the middle. However, we can rearrange it to say, while he was watching the movie, he fell asleep. The sentence structure here is while plus a subject plus the verb. We can form the second structure, while plus a gerund, like this. So the sentence is, he fell asleep while watching the movie. Another example is, I take notes while I listen in class. Again, we have the first structure, while plus a subject plus the verb. Here is the second structure. I take notes while listening in class. So I have while plus the gerund. Each, every. In this lesson, I will go through the difference between these two words and how to use each correctly. Each refers to an individual person or thing. So the main focus here is on the individual thing. We use each when there are two or more things. For example, each student in the class took turns to read. Another example is, each person received an invite to the dinner party. In both examples, each is followed by a singular noun, student and person. As previously mentioned, each is used when there are two objects. For example, I wore gold earrings on each ear. So it wouldn't make sense if I said I wore gold earrings on every ear because I only have two ears. Another example is she wore shoes on each foot, not every foot, because she only has 2 feet. Each can also be used with plural nouns. For example, each of the children ran across the field. Each of the dogs jumped over the fence. Notice I have to use the article the before the noun. The children, the dogs. However, if we are using a pronoun or a determiner, then we don't need an article. For example, each of us were tired after the camping trip, or each of these desserts look delicious. Each can also be used as a pronoun. For example, if my friend Sarah baked some cupcakes, I can say that each looks delicious. So I'm referring to each individual cake. Another example is if you're looking at some candles in a shop and you ask your friend, "Did you smell each?" Or "Did you smell each one?" So you're referring to each individual candle. So to summarize each, we now know that it can be used with singular nouns, plural nouns, and it can also be used as a pronoun. Every. Every refers to a group of people or things that are considered as one. We use this when there are 3 or more things. For example, every teacher had to attend the training day. Every apple in the bowl is ripe. Every member of the team received a medal. So in each example, the focus isn't on the individual person or thing, but rather the focus is on the group. So the group of teachers or the apples or the group members in the team. Every is also commonly used to determine how often something happens. For example, I play basketball every Friday. I take a study break every 3 hours. It's important to remember that every can't be used as a pronoun. So to summarize, every can be used with singular nouns, it can't be used with plural nouns, and it can't be used as a pronoun. So now that we know that each and every can both be used when referring to three or more things, there are often situations where each and every can be used interchangeably. So, for example, we have 10 fingers, therefore each can be used when referring to each individual finger, and every can be used when referring to all the fingers as a group. For example, she has a ring on each finger. So I'm referring to each individual finger. She has a ring on every finger. So here I'm referring to all the fingers as a group. Lastly, it's common to hear the phrase each and every. This is used for emphasis when referring to every single thing. For example, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this video. Every day, every day. In this video, we will learn the difference between these words. Every day. Every day is an adjective. It means normal or regular. For example, these are my everyday shoes. Crimes have become an everyday occurrence. Every day. Every day is an adverbial phrase. It means each day. For example, I see her waiting at the bus stop every day. She exercises every day. Famous, popular. Famous. Famous is an adjective. It's used to describe a person, place, or thing that is known by many people. For example, J.K. Rowling is a famous author. So, J.K. Rowling is known by many people for writing Harry Potter books. Jennifer's dream is to become a famous singer. So Jennifer wants to become a singer that is known by many people. Popular. Popular is an adjective. It's used to describe a person, place, or thing that is liked by many people. For example, Alex is very popular in school. So many people like Alex. Football is a popular sport. So here I'm saying that football is liked by many people. A person, place, or thing can be both famous and popular, or it can be either one. For example, J.K. Rowling is famous because she's known by many people. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that she's popular, because many people may not like her or they may not enjoy reading her books. Another example is Alex is the popular boy in school. So, he's liked by many people in his school. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's famous, because many people may not know him. Fun, funny. Fun. Fun means enjoyment and pleasure. It can be used as a noun to refer to enjoyment or a good time, and it can be used as an adjective to describe something that is enjoyable. For example, we had fun at the party. Here, I'm saying that we had an enjoyable time at the party. It was a fun party. Here, I'm describing the party as being fun. Funny. Funny means amusing or causing laughter. It's an adjective, so we can describe something to be amusing or something or someone that causes us to laugh. For example, Emma told me a funny story yesterday. Here I'm describing the story that Emma told me as amusing or it made me laugh. Funny can also describe something to be unexpected, strange, or surprising. For example, a funny thing happened to me today. I saw my friend from 10 years ago. So I'm saying it was surprising. Get, take. Both words refer to acquiring something, however, they're used in different contexts depending on who does the action. Get. Get is a verb and it means to obtain or to receive something. This usually involves two people, so one person receives something from the other person. The present tense form is get. The past tense form is got. For example, I get a coffee every morning from the coffee shop. In this example, I get the coffee because the person in the coffee shop prepares it for me and gives it to me. I wouldn't use the verb take because this would imply stealing. So if I say, I take a coffee every morning from the coffee shop, it may suggest that I took it without paying for it or without permission. Another example is, he got a new bicycle. Get is used in many other expressions. For example, get dressed, get married, get sick, etc. Take. Take is a verb and it means to move something from its place. This usually involves one person, so the subject does the action. The present tense form is take and the past tense form is took. This can either be with permission or without permission. For example, I take my car to the garage every year. She took my pencil case. Take is also used in many other expressions. For example, when you're describing transportation, I take the bus to school. I take a train to work. Other examples include take a shower, take a look, take care, take a photo, take a break, etc. Go is a type of irregular verb. Irregular verbs don't follow the general rule of using ed or d to form the past simple or past participle. Instead, the past simple and past participle forms are different. Therefore, it's important to learn them for irregular verbs. Let's look at an example. We have the base form, past simple, past participle. Cook is the base form of the verb. The past simple form is cooked. As you can see, we have added ed to the end of the word. The past participle is also cooked. Therefore, this is a regular verb. This rule doesn't apply to the verb go. Instead, the base form is go. The past simple form is went, not goed. And the past participle is gone. Go. Go is the base form of the verb and it means to go from one place to another. So here I have all of the subjects. I, you, we, they, she, he. Now let's go through examples using the verb go. I go to school. You go to school. We go to school. They go to school. She goes to school. He goes to school. As you can see, for subjects she and he, we use the form goes. Went. Went is the past simple form of the verb. The past simple refers to an action that has already happened. Again, here are all the subjects, and let's go through the examples. I went to school. You went to school. We went to school. They went to school. She went to school. He went to school. A very common mistake is to add an auxiliary verb before the verb went. I have went to school. This is incorrect. Instead, we just say, I went to school. Gone. Gone is the past participle form. We always add an auxiliary verb before the verb gone. So, here are the subjects, and here are the examples. I have gone to school. You have gone to school. We have gone to school. They have gone to school. She has gone to school. He has gone to school. As you can see, for subjects she and he, we use a different auxiliary verb, has. Have, has. Both have and has are verbs. They can be used to show possession, or they can be used as helping verbs in a sentence. The form used will depend on the subject in the sentence. Have. Have is used with pronouns I, we, you, they, and plural nouns in the present tense. It's used when speaking in the first person, second person, or third person plural. For example, I have a new bag. We have a meeting. You have a nice smile. They have an exam today. The students have to study hard for their exams. Has. Has is used with the pronouns he, she, it, and any singular nouns in the present tense. For example, he has a big house. She has beautiful long hair. It has been raining all day. Andrew has a blue car. The giraffe has a long neck. When forming negative sentences, we use don't have for subjects I, we, you, they, and plural nouns in the present tense. For example, I don't have a new bag. We don't have a meeting. You don't have blue eyes. They don't have an exam today. We use doesn't have for subjects he, she, it, and singular nouns in the present tense. For example, he doesn't have a big house. She doesn't have long hair. Andy doesn't have a red car. Lena doesn't have any kids. Have, has, had. Have is the base form of the verb. This is a type of irregular verb because it has 3 different forms. Has and had are different forms of the same verb. This verb can be used for various reasons. The first is to show possession. For example, I have a book. Sophie has a blue car. So, these examples show ownership of something. In the first example, the book belongs to me, and in the second example, the blue car belongs to Sophie. The verb can also be used as a helping verb. Helping verbs are verbs that help the main verb by adding meaning to the sentence. For example, I have eaten my dinner. Eaten is the main verb, have is the helping verb. Another example is, Ali has visited the USA. We can use this verb for many other reasons, such as to show a relationship, a feeling, an experience, etc. The form of the verb used will depend on the subject and the sentence tense, so whether the sentence is in the present tense or past tense. First, let's look at affirmative sentences. These are positive sentences. If the subject is a plural noun, I, you, we, or they, and the sentence is in the present tense, then we use the verb have. For example, I have 2 pencils. If the subject is a singular noun, he, she, or it, and the sentence is in the present tense, then we use the verb has. For example, she has a big school bag. Lastly, for all subjects in the past tense, we use the verb had. For example, we had a great time at the party. Now, test your knowledge by filling in the missing word. Remember to think about the subject and the sentence tense. Pause the video here before the correct answers are shown. Now let's go through negative sentences. Don't have, doesn't have, and didn't have. Again, we need to look at the subject and the sentence tense. So, if the subject is a plural noun, I, you, we, or they, in the present tense, then we use don't have. For example, I don't have 2 pencils. If the subject is a singular noun, he, she, or it, and the sentence is in the present tense, then we use doesn't have. For example, she doesn't have a big school bag. Lastly, for all subjects in the past tense, we use didn't have. For example, we didn't have a great time at the party. Again, test your knowledge by filling in the missing words. Now let's look at the correct question structure.
The structure will depend on the subject and the sentence tense. So, if the subject is a plural noun, I, you, we, they, in the present tense, we use the structure do plus the subject plus have. For example, do you have a pen? If the subject is a singular noun, he, she, it, and the sentence is in the present tense, then we use the structure does plus the subject plus have. For example, does she have a school bag? Lastly, for all subjects in the past tense, we use the structure did plus the subject plus have. For example, did they have a good time at the party? Again, test your knowledge by filling in the missing words.
Heard, heard. Both words sound the same, however, they have different spellings and different meanings. Heard. Heard is the past form and past participle of the verb to hear, which means to listen to or to receive information with your ears. For example, have you heard the new song? They heard the announcement. Heard. Heard can be a noun or a verb. As a noun, it refers to a large group of animals that are together. These are usually the same type of animals. For example, there were a herd of sheep on the farm. As a verb, it means to move a group of animals together. For example, he was herding the sheep. House, home. House. House refers to a building in which people live. Even if no one is living in the house, it's still called a house because the sole focus here is the physical building. For example, I bought a house last month. Here I'm talking about the building that I bought. Jay's house is beautiful. Again, I'm talking about the building in which Jay lives. Sam is decorating his house for Christmas. Home. Home refers to where you live. This can be an apartment, a caravan, or a house, depending on where you live. The home belongs to the person and there is an emotional connection to it. We can also use the word home when referring to a place we previously lived in or a town. For example, I arrived home late last night. So here, we don't know exactly what type of home it is. We don't know if it's a house, an apartment, or a caravan, but it's a place that the person has an emotional connection to and where they go to at the end of the day, their home. Another example is, Amber is at home now. Are you going home? It's important to remember that there are times where these words can be used interchangeably. However,
the sentence structures are different. For example, I can say, "Are you going to your house?" or "Are you going home?" Essentially, both are correct to use. However, it's more common to just ask, "Are you going home?" Ignorant, arrogant. Both are adjectives. Therefore, they describe a noun. Ignorant. Ignorant is an adjective and it refers to the lack of knowledge or awareness about something. For example, she was too ignorant to realize that she was making the wrong decision. Another example is, ignorance is bliss. This is a common phrase used in English. It means that if you don't know about a problem, then you won't spend time worrying about it. Ignorant can also be used as an insult to describe someone that is rude or has bad manners. Arrogant. Arrogant is an adjective and it refers to an exaggerated sense of self-importance. So a person who is arrogant is usually very confident and proud. They usually don't listen to others and only care about their own opinions because they perceive themselves to be superior to others. So they essentially think that they are better than everyone else. For example, he was arrogant and disrespectful. Her arrogant manner is off-putting. Is, are. These are different forms of the verb to be. We can identify which word we need to use by looking at whether the noun in the sentence is singular or plural. Is. We use the verb is with singular nouns, uncountable nouns, and collective nouns. Singular nouns refer to one person, place, or thing. For example, my dog is very cute. So dog is a singular noun. Uncountable nouns are nouns that we can't count. For example, the water is cold. Water is an uncountable noun. Collective nouns refer to a group of people or things that are treated as a single entity. For example, the audience is very loud. Audience is a collective noun. Are. We use the word are with plural nouns, so this refers to more than one person, place, or thing. For example, the birds are flying in the sky. Birds is a plural noun. The children are playing in the playground. Children is a plural noun. My friends are at the park. Friends is a plural noun. It's. These two words sound the same and they have the same spellings. However, they have two different meanings. The difference between these words is that the second it's has an apostrophe between the letter T and S. In this lesson, we will look at the difference between its and when to use each one. Its. Its is a possessive pronoun. We use its when referring to something that belongs to someone or something someone owns. Other possessive pronouns include your, his, her, my, our, their.
When we use its, we're generally referring to a thing or a place. For example, the cat is eating its food. So the cat is eating the food that belongs to it. Another example is, the dog wrinkles its nose. London is famous for its tourist attractions. It's, with an apostrophe. This is a contraction of it is or it has. For example, it's important to study before an exam. In this example, the sentence is, it is important to study before an exam. However, the words it is have been shortened to its. Another example is, it's a huge house. It's been snowing for 2 hours. In this example, the sentence is, it has been snowing for 2 hours. So the words it has been shortened to its. If you're ever confused about which it's to use, then think about whether the sentence would make sense if you included it is or it has. If it makes sense, then include the it's with the apostrophe. However, if the sentence doesn't make sense with it is or it has, then you know you have to use the possessive pronoun its.
New, new. Both words are pronounced the same, however, they have different spellings and different meanings. New. New is the past form of the verb to know, which means when you have knowledge of something. Therefore, when we talk about the past tense, we are referring to something that we had knowledge or understanding of in the past. For example, I knew how to play the piano when I was a child. She knew that she had to be home early. New. New is an adjective. It refers to something or someone that you have recently discovered. This can be something that you have never seen before or something that you have never done before. New also refers to something that has never been used before. For example, a toy in a shop, which is brand new. We know that adjectives describe nouns, so this can be a person, place, thing, or idea. Now let's go through an example of each. Anna is a new student. I am going to the new cafe. She bought some new makeup. Can you think of any new ideas? Learnt, learned. These are both past tense forms of the verb to learn. Learn means to acquire knowledge about something. The difference is in spelling and pronunciation. These words both mean the same thing, however, one is used in British English and the other is used in American English. So, the base form for both verbs is learn. In British English, both the past simple and past participle form is learnt. Learnt. In American English,
The past simple form and past participle is learned. Learned. For example, I learnt English in London. I learned English in America. In summary, both learnt and learned mean the same thing, and it just depends on whether you are using British English or American English. Lie, lay. Lie. Lie is an intransitive verb. This means there is no direct object. Lie means to be in a horizontal position. For example, when you're resting or sleeping. Lie is an irregular verb, therefore it's important to know the different forms of the verb. The present tense is lie. The past tense is lay. And the past participle is lain. However, this isn't commonly used in everyday spoken English. Now let's go through some examples. I need to lie down. We can lie down on, in, or under something. However, we can't lie something else. In this example, I is the subject, lie is the verb, and there is no direct object. Instead, we have a preposition. The dog lay on my bed and fell asleep. He had lain under a tree all day. Another meaning of lie is to not tell the truth. This is also a verb. Lay. Lay is a transitive verb. This means a direct object is required. Lay means to put or to place something in a flat or horizontal position. For example, you can put something in, on, or under something. Again, lay is an irregular verb, therefore it's important to know the different forms. The present tense is lay. The past tense is laid. The past participle is laid. Now let's go through some examples. I lay my head on the table. I is the subject, lay is the verb, my head is the direct object. Another example is, she laid the blanket on the bed. He had laid the rug on the floor. Now let's look at the present participle form. This is the form of the verb ending in ing. Lie becomes lying. For example, the money is lying on the sofa. Lay becomes laying. For example, the chicken is laying an egg. Here we have a direct object, the egg. Therefore, laying is used. Here is a summary of the different forms of the two verbs. Lose, loose. As we can hear, there is a difference in pronunciation. Lose has a Z sound. Loose has an S sound. There is also a difference in spelling. Lose has one O. Loose has two O's. Lose. Lose is a verb, and it means when you are unable to find something or when you are unable to keep something. So you don't have that thing anymore. You've lost it. For example, did you lose your homework sheet? I always lose my keys. In these examples, we're talking about the action of misplacing or being unable to find something. Lost. Lost is the past form and past participle of lose. For example, she lost her phone. He lost his life in the car accident. You may have heard a similar expression to this, so rather than saying he died in the car accident, it is more polite to say that he lost his life. Loose. Loose is an adjective, and it describes something that doesn't fit tightly. For example, these trousers are too loose. This means the trousers are not fitted correctly, they are too loose. Another example is, I tightened the loose screw with a screwdriver. Again, in this example, the screw is not fitted tightly, it is loose. Therefore, I had to tighten it with a screwdriver. Meet, meat. They have the same pronunciation, however, the spellings are different and they have different meanings. Meet. Meet can be a verb or a noun. As a verb, it refers to the act of seeing and speaking to someone. This is usually for the first time, but it can also refer to someone you meet often or someone you know very well. For example, they agreed to meet in the cafe. It can also refer to things that touch or join. For example, the river meets the ocean. Here I'm referring to the point where the river touches or joins together with the ocean. As a noun, it refers to the gathering before an event. This is usually a sporting event, such as racing, swimming, etc. For example, I will take part in the track meet. Meat. Meat is a noun and it refers to the flesh of an animal. There are different types of meat, such as beef, lamb, etc. Remember, this is a type of meat that we eat. For example, I eat meat once a week. It can also refer to the flesh of a human. For example, my mum thinks I don't have enough meat on me. So a person who is thinner is referred to as having less meat on them compared to a person who is larger. Another common use is to refer to the meat of a conversation or story. This is the most important part of something. For example, we spoke for a long time until we got to the meat of the problem. Much, many. Essentially, they both mean the same thing. They refer to a large amount of something. However, we use them in different contexts. Much is used with uncountable nouns. It refers to a large amount. Now I will go through 3 types of sentences in which we can use the word much: a positive sentence, a negative sentence, and a question. For example, the party was so much fun. The uncountable noun in this sentence is fun. I didn't get much sleep last night. This is an example of a negative sentence. The uncountable noun in this sentence is sleep. How much money do you have? Many. Many is used with countable nouns. Again, it refers to a large amount. For example, she has many friends. The countable noun in this sentence is friends. So we're saying that she has a large number of friends. There aren't many people here. The countable noun in this sentence is people. How many properties do you own? The countable noun in this sentence is properties. Myself, by myself. Myself. This is a reflexive pronoun. It's used in a sentence when I is the subject and the object. So I am the doer of the action and I'm also the receiver of the action. For example, I gave myself a haircut. So here I'm saying that I cut my own hair. So I'm the doer of the action and I'm also the receiver of the action. Another example is, I bought myself a new phone. Myself is also used to emphasize a point. Usually, that I did something myself. For example, I baked the cupcakes myself. This sentence would still make sense if I just said, I baked the cupcakes. However, if I really want to emphasize that I was the one that baked the cupcakes, then I can add the word myself. So, I'm emphasizing that I was the one who baked the cupcakes. Another example is, I wrote the story myself. By myself. This expression means to do something alone. For example, I went to the park by myself. I carried the big box by myself. I ate lunch by myself. No, no. No is spelt N-O. It's the opposite of yes, and it's used as a negative response to something. It can also mean not any or none. For example, if someone asks me, do you want to go to the cinema? I may say, no. Or, no, I can't go to the cinema. Or, no, I don't want to go to the cinema. Another example is, if someone asks if I eat meat, I may say, no. Or, no, I don't eat meat. There's no milk in the fridge. The last example is, there's no need to argue. Know. Know is a verb. It means to have knowledge of something or to be familiar with someone or something. For example, I know the answer. So here I'm saying that I have knowledge of the answer. I know Sam, he's my classmate. So here I'm saying that I am familiar with Sam. The last example is, do you know what onomatopoeia means? Old. Older. This is a comparative adjective. Oldest. This is a superlative adjective. Elder. This is a comparative adjective. Eldest. This is a superlative adjective. Comparative adjectives compare things or people, so we compare one with the other. In this context, we are referring to a greater age. Superlative adjectives compare one thing or person with all other things or people in a group. In this context, we are talking about someone or something that has the greatest age. Older. This is a comparative adjective. We can use older when referring to a person or a thing. It refers to someone who has lived for a long time, so it's the opposite of younger. For example, Adam is my older brother. Here we have an attributive adjective because we are attributing a quality to the noun being modified. Here is the attributive adjective, and it comes directly before the noun. Older can also be used to describe something that has existed for a long time. For example, my car is older than Sam's car. In this example, we have a predicative adjective. The adjective follows a linking verb and modifies the subject of the sentence. Elder. Elder is also a comparative adjective. However, we only use it when referring to a person, usually a family member. Again, it describes someone who has lived for a long time. For example, Adam is my elder brother. As you can see in the sentence, elder comes directly before the noun. Therefore, it's called an attributive adjective. We can't say Adam is elder than me. This is incorrect. Instead, we can use the adjective older. Adam is older than me. Here we have a predicative adjective because the adjective comes after the linking verb. Another example is, my elder sister is a teacher. Lastly, it's important to note, elder is also a noun. As a noun, it refers to senior citizens, or people that are older and more experienced within a community. For example, we should respect our elders. Oldest. Oldest is a superlative adjective. Again, we use oldest when referring to people or things. For example, if we're talking about a person, my oldest brother is Adam. He's the oldest in the family. When we're talking about a thing, we can say, that's the oldest car I've seen. Eldest. Eldest is a superlative adjective. However, we only use eldest when we're talking about a person, generally family members. For example, my eldest brother is Adam. He's the eldest in the family.
Peace, peace. The pronunciation is the same, however, they have different spellings and different meanings. Peace. Peace is a noun and it refers to the freedom from disturbance. This can describe the state of emotional calmness, or it can refer to a period of time in which there is no war and there is peace amongst countries. For example, I enjoy peace and quiet. The countries achieved peace without war. Peace is also a common greeting. This is an informal greeting used when seeing your friends or someone you know well. It's also a way to say goodbye. For example, peace out. Peace.
Piece can be a noun or a verb. As a noun, it refers to a portion or a section of something. It's also commonly used when referring to music, artwork, or written work. For example, he threw the toy and it broke into pieces. Another example is, she ate a piece of cake. As a verb, it refers to the action of assembling something. So it means to put something together from its different pieces. For example, I tried to piece together the broken toy. So here I'm saying that I tried to fix the toy by putting together the broken pieces.
Practice, practice. These are homophones. Homophones are words with the same pronunciation but different spellings and different meanings. If you're using American English, then you will only ever need to use practice with a C. However, if you're using British English, then you will need to understand the difference between both, as both are used in British English. Practice with a C is a noun. Practice refers to the procedure or the act of repeatedly doing something. This can be a habit or tradition. It can refer to a profession that requires a lot of training. For example, jobs like being a doctor, a dentist, or a lawyer. Practice also refers to repeated action in order to improve a skill. For example, it's a common practice to tip the waiter. This is an example of a habit or tradition. I applied for the job at the new dental practice. I go to football practice every day. So in this example, it's referring to improving a skill. Practice with an S is a verb. If you practice something, then you're performing the action. This again can be a habit or tradition, training in a profession, or repeatedly doing something in order to improve a skill. For example, she practices her religion. He practiced as a doctor for 9 years. I need to practice my English. Overall, you need to remember practice with a C is a noun. Practice with an S is a verb.
Pray, pray. In this video, I will go through the difference between these two words. The pronunciation is the same, however, they have different spellings and different meanings. Pray. Pray can be a noun or a verb. We usually use this when referring to animals. It refers to an animal that is hunted by another animal for food. For example, the tiger stalks its prey. As a verb, it refers to the act of hunting and killing for food. For example, lions prey on deer. Pray. Pray is a verb and it refers to the act of worship. Different religions have different ways of praying or worshipping. For example, Jasmine prays 5 times a day. I pray for good health. Quite. Quiet. There is a difference in pronunciation and spelling. Quite. Quiet. Quite. Quite is an adverb. An adverb describes a verb, adjective, or another adverb. In this case, we are referring to the extent or degree of something. So, depending on what you want to express in your sentence, quite can mean fairly, so a high degree, or completely. For example, it's quite hot outside. In this example, I am emphasizing how hot it is. Another example is, he's quite rude. In this example, I am putting emphasis on the fact that he is considerably rude. The last example is, the exam was quite easy. Quiet. Quiet is an adjective. It means making little or no noise, or to carry out something discreetly. For example, it was very quiet in the office. In this example, I'm referring to the lack of activity or noise in the office. Another example is when you are in class and the teacher says, "Please be quiet." So the teacher wants you to make no noise. The last example is, I will have a quiet word with him tomorrow. Raise, rise. Raise. Raise is a verb, and it means to lift or move something upwards. It can also mean to increase something. Raise is a transitive verb. This means that it needs a direct object. Essentially, we need an object that is receiving the action. This can be a person or a thing. So, we raise something. For example, I raise my hand when I have a question. Here, I is the subject and the object is my hand, which I move up. So the action is being done to my hand. The sentence wouldn't be correct if there wasn't an object. For example, I can't say, I raise when I have a question. Therefore, it's important to remember that something raises something else. So here, I raise my hand. Another example is, hotels raise their prices for the summer holidays. In this example, I'm referring to the increase in price of hotels. So the hotels are doing the action of increasing their prices. Lastly, it's important to note that raise can sometimes be used as a noun. We commonly use it as a noun when referring to an increase in pay. For example, he asked his manager for a raise. So he asked his manager for an increase in pay. Raise is a regular verb. This means that the past tense and past participle forms are made by adding d to the end. So, the present tense form is raise, the past tense form is raised, and the past participle is raised. Rise. Rise is a verb, and it means to move upwards or to increase. This is the same as the meaning of raise. However, rise is an intransitive verb. This means that it doesn't need a direct object, and the action usually occurs by itself. For example, sea levels rise every year. So, as we can see from this example, the sea levels rise itself. There is no subject required to physically increase the level. Another example is, the sun rises at 7 o'clock in the morning. Again, in this example, there is no subject. The sun moves upwards itself. It's also important to note that rise can be used as a noun, and it usually refers to the increase in quantity. For example, I hope the level of crime doesn't rise. So here I'm referring to the increase in number of crimes. Rise is an irregular verb. This means that it doesn't follow the usual rule of adding d or ed to form the past tense or past participle forms. So, the present tense form is rise, the past tense form is rose, and the past participle form is risen. Remind, remain. Remind. Remind is a verb, and it means to cause someone to remember someone or something. So you do the action of reminding someone by either talking to them or through a message. Remind is a regular verb, therefore the past tense and past participle is reminded. For example, please remind me to post the package. Another example is, I reminded him to do his homework. Remain. Remain is a verb, and it means to stay in the same place or same condition. Remain is a regular verb, therefore the past tense and past participle is remained. For example, supermarkets will remain open. The students remained silent during the exam. Since, for. Since. Since refers to a specific point in time. This is the beginning of an event. For example, if it started raining at 10 o'clock and the time now is 11 o'clock, then I can say that it has been raining since 10 o'clock. Since can be used in the past and present tense, but not the future tense. For example, I have been studying since 9 a.m. So, 9 a.m. is the specific point in time when I started studying. She has been a teacher since 2015. Again, 2015 is the specific point in time that she started teaching. Ali has lived in London since April. 4. When we use the word for, we are referring to a duration of time. So again, let's look at this example. If it started raining at 10 o'clock and the time now is 11 o'clock, then I can say it has been raining for 1 hour. For can be used in the past, present, or future tense. For example, I have been studying for 3 hours. As we can see from this example, 3 hours is the duration of time. Another example is, she will be in the office for 2 hours. He has lived in London for 3 months. As you can see from these examples, I have given the duration of time. However, if you're not sure of the exact period of time, then you can use phrases like for ages, for a while, for a long time, or for a short time. For example, I can say, I have been studying for ages. She will be in the office for a while. He has lived in London for a long time. Singular, plural. Singular. Singular refers to one person, place, or thing. For example, cat, house, mango. Plural. Plural refers to more than one person, place, or thing. For example, cats, houses, mangoes. Notice that the plural nouns either end in the letter S or ES. There are different plural spelling rules that you need to learn about, as plural spellings differ depending on the letters in the words. Sink, float. Sink. Sink is a verb and it means to go down to the bottom. So an object that sinks usually goes down to the bottom of something like water. Float. Float is a verb and it means to stay or move on the surface. So an object that floats usually stays and moves on the top of a surface like water. It doesn't sink. For example, the ball will sink in the water. Which objects will sink? The ball will float on the water. Which objects will float? Stationary, stationary. Both words have the same pronunciation, however, they have different spellings and different meanings. Stationary. Stationary is an adjective. It means not moving or changing. For example, the bus was stationary for an hour. So this means the bus wasn't moving for an hour. House prices have been stationary all year. So this means that house prices haven't changed all year. Stationary. This is a noun. It refers to writing materials such as pens, paper, pencils, etc. For example, I went to the stationery shop last week. Jonathan bought a new stationery set. Subject, object. In English, sentences often have a subject and an object. The subject is the person or thing that's doing the action. The object is the person or thing that's receiving the action. Let's look at 2 examples. The cow eats grass. In this example, the subject is the cow because it's doing the action of eating. The object is the grass because it's being acted upon. An easy way to find the subject and the object is to first find the verb in the sentence. Then we can ask who or what. So in this example, the verb is eats. After this, we can find out who carried out this action by asking who eats. The answer is the cow, so the cow is the subject. Lastly, we can find out the object by asking what does the cow eat? The answer is the grass, so the grass is the object. Tina plays the piano. In this example, the subject is Tina because she does the action of playing the piano. The object is the piano because it's being acted upon. So in summary, the subject is the person or thing that's doing the action, and the object is the person or thing that's receiving the action. Suit, sweet. Notice the difference in pronunciation. Suit, sweet. There is also a difference in spelling and meaning. Suit. Suit can be a noun or a verb. As a noun, it refers to a type of formal clothing which consists of a jacket and trousers. For example, he wore a suit to the wedding. As a verb, it means convenient or acceptable. For example, if you're scheduling a meeting with someone, you may ask, "What time would best suit you?" So what time would be convenient for you? As a verb, it also refers to something that enhances your features. This can be a specific hairstyle, a color, or a specific style of clothing that makes someone look more attractive. For example, jeans don't suit me. Sweet. Sweet is a noun, and it refers to a set of connected rooms in a hotel. For example, they stayed in a suite for a week. He checked into the suite at 9 a.m. Super, supper. Notice the difference in spelling and pronunciation. Super. Super can be an adjective or an adverb. As an adjective, it describes something as being very good or excellent. For example, we had a super time. As an adverb, it means especially or particularly. For example, she was super helpful. Supper. Supper is a noun and it refers to an evening meal. This is usually a light meal eaten in the evening. For example, what did you eat for supper? I ate salad for supper. Sympathy, empathy. Sympathy. Sympathy is a noun and it means to acknowledge that someone else is distressed due to a certain situation or event. Usually, we can sympathize with someone by showing a feeling of sorrow and trying to comfort the person with our words. This is because we feel bad for them. For example, if your friend's pet died, then you may say, "I'm sorry for your loss." So you're just trying to comfort your friend with words. Empathy. Empathy is a noun and it refers to actually understanding exactly how the other person feels. This may be because you care for them deeply or because you understand the exact situation. Maybe you've experienced it in the past. So essentially, you're willing to put yourself in the other person's shoes and are willing to experience their feelings. Again, in the situation of your friend's pet dying, a person who is empathetic usually share their emotions. So you want to help your friend relieve their suffering. For example, you may show emotions such as crying, physical comfort, or spend a lot of time with that person in order to help understand their situation. Tale, tale, tale. Tale is a noun. It refers to a short story. It's a short story that's usually told by other people. This type of story may be based on real events or it may be fiction. For example, the children listen to an exciting tale. I enjoy reading fairy tales. Tale. Tale can be a noun or a verb. As a noun, it refers to the rear elongated part of an animal's body. For example, the dog wagged its tail. Elephants have short tails. As a verb, it means to follow someone. This can be in secret. This is an informal word. For example, the paparazzi tailed them all around the city. Tall, high. Tall. Tall is an adjective and it refers to the height of something. So this is the vertical length of something that's usually standing, and the length is above average. So this can describe a person, an animal, or things like buildings, houses, etc. For example, he is very tall. The Shard is a tall building in London. Notice from these examples that tall describes the height of something that's usually touching the ground. High. High is an adjective and it refers to how high something is off the ground. So it's the height of something that's above the ground. For example, I can say that the man is tall and that he throws a ball up high. Here I'm referring to the height of the ball above the ground. Other examples include the birds fly high in the sky. How high can you throw the ball? Tall, long. Tall. Tall is an adjective and it refers to the height of something. So this is the vertical length of something that's usually standing and is above average. So it's described as being tall. This can be a person, an animal, or things like buildings, trees, houses, etc. For example, he is very tall. Another example is, the Shard is a tall building in London. Notice from these examples that tall describes the height of something that touches the ground. Long. Long is an adjective and it refers to the horizontal length of something. So if we measure something between its two furthest points. For example, the ruler is long. Long can also be used to describe physical features like hair, arms, legs, nose, etc., or the length of time or distance. For example, she has long hair. The lecture was long and boring. So here I'm saying that the lecture lasted for a long period of time. The antonym of both words is short. This often confuses students. However, short can refer to both the vertical and the horizontal length of something. So I can say that the man is short and the ruler is short. There, there, there. These are three commonly confused words. They sound the same, but have different spellings and different meanings. There. The word there has two functions. As an adverb, it refers to a place. It's the opposite of here. As a pronoun, it's used to introduce a word or clause. For example, she lives over there. So in this example, it's used as an adverb to refer to a place. Another example is, there is nothing wrong with her. Here, it's used as a pronoun. There. There is used to show ownership. So, we use it when we are referring to something that belongs to a group of people or animals. For example, their house is new. Their fur is thick. There is a third person possessive adjective, and it comes just before the noun being described, as you can see from these two examples. However, the word theirs, with an S at the end, is commonly used. This is a third person possessive pronoun, and it usually comes at the end. For example, the red car is theirs. There. There is a contraction of the words they are. A contraction is a shortened version of a word, and we usually put an apostrophe where the letter is missing. For example, they're going to the shopping centre. They're nice shoes. Or we can say, they are nice shoes. This, that, these, those. These are known as demonstratives. Demonstratives are used to point to specific people or things. This and that are singular, so we're referring to one person or thing. These and those are plural, so we're referring to more than one person or thing. This and these refer to things that are close. We can think of them as being here, whereas that and those refers to things that are far away, so we can think of them as being there. This is singular. For example, I like this apple. That is singular. For example, I like that apple. These is plural. For example, I like these apples. Those is plural. For example, I like those apples. Two. To can be used as a preposition,
as an infinitive to refer to a period of time or to refer to the receiver of something. As a preposition, it shows the direction. For example, I went to the shop. She went to school. They went to the park. An infinitive is the basic form of a verb. The infinitive form of a verb is usually preceded by to. For example, to eat, to drink, to run, to walk, etc. For example, I want to eat a sandwich. She likes to sing. He likes to drink orange juice. To can be used to refer to the period of time. For example, he works from 9 to 5 on weekdays. Lastly, it refers to the receiver of something. For example, can you give the letter to Sam? So Sam is the receiver of the letter. Sarah gave the book to Jay. So Jay is the receiver of the book. They were polite to her. To. To is an adverb and it means also very or excessive. For example, if my friend was studying and I was also studying, then I can say, I was studying too. So, I was also studying. I'm too tired. This means I'm very tired. You've added too much flour. This means you've added an excessive amount of flour. Unqualified, disqualified. Unqualified. Notice that the word unqualified begins with the prefix un, which means not. Therefore, if the adjective qualified means to have the correct skills and knowledge for a job, then unqualified means to not have the correct skills or knowledge for a job. For example, the employer will not offer an interview to unqualified candidates. Another example is someone is applying for a teaching job, but they don't have a degree or the correct qualifications, then we can say that she is unqualified for the job, or he is unqualified for the job. Disqualified. Notice that the word disqualified begins with the prefix dis, which means not. Therefore, if the verb qualify means to allow someone to do something, then the word disqualified means to not allow someone to do something. The reason for this is usually an offense. For example, if a football player is disqualified, then he did something which was wrong, and this resulted in his disqualification. For example, the footballer was disqualified. Another example is if someone drives dangerously fast, then they can be disqualified from driving. For example, she was disqualified from driving. Want, need. Want. Want refers to something you desire or like. Desires differ between people and over time. So you can desire to buy something or to have something, but this isn't necessary or essential for your living. For example, if I'm hungry, I might say, I want to eat a burger. So this is something I desire to eat because I like burgers. However, it's not essential for me to just eat a burger, as I could also eat something else. Another example is if I'm thirsty. I might say, I want to drink some lime juice. Again, lime juice isn't essential as I could drink something else. The last example is, I want to paint a picture. Need. Need is something that's essential or necessary. This can also be something important and essential for our living. For example, food or water. If I'm hungry, I might say, I need to eat some food. Food is something that's necessary because as humans, we need to eat in order to survive. If I'm thirsty, I might say, I need to drink some water. The last example is, if my homework is due tomorrow, then I might say, I need to do my homework. Was, were. Was. We use was with the pronouns I, he, she, it. For example, I was excited. The negative form of the verb is wasn't. I wasn't excited. Wasn't is the contraction for was not. He was at school. She wasn't at school. It was a beautiful night. It wasn't a beautiful night. When asking a question, we put the verb first, followed by the subject. For example, was she okay? Were. We use were with the pronouns you, we, they. For example, you were brilliant. The negative form is weren't. You weren't brilliant. This is a contraction for the word were not. We were late. We weren't late. They were buying shoes. They were so cute. Again, when we're asking a question, we put the verb first, followed by the subject. For example, were you okay? Which? That. These are examples of relative pronouns. Relative pronouns are used in relative clauses and they connect the clauses. They do this by providing extra information about the noun in the sentence. In this lesson, we will look at the difference between which and that and when to use each. Which. Which is used when adding non-essential information to the sentence. We use this in a non-restrictive relative clause. The information isn't required to understand the noun or the meaning of the sentence, so it's extra information. For example, my phone, which is an iPhone, isn't working. The sentence still makes sense if we remove the clause. My phone isn't working. It's not essential for me to say that it's an iPhone, as we can still understand the meaning of the sentence. The clause is just providing extra non-essential information. Another example is, she likes to spend her weekends at her mum's house, which is by the beach. Again, in this sentence, we can remove the clause, which is by the beach. This is extra non-essential information, and we can still understand the meaning of the sentence. It's important to note the punctuation in each sentence. When we use which, we always put a comma at the start and the end of the clause. So it's almost like using brackets when providing extra information. So we're separating the extra non-essential information from the sentence. That. That is used when adding essential information to the sentence. And this is used in a restrictive relative clause. The information is required in order for the reader to understand the noun or the meaning of the sentence. For example, my phone that I bought last week isn't working. In this sentence, we have essential information, as I might have more than one phone, and I want the reader to know specifically which phone I'm talking about. So I'm talking about the phone that I bought last week. Another example is, the boy that is in your class is my brother. In terms of punctuation, when we use the relative pronoun that, we don't insert commas. An easy way to know whether to use which or that is to remove the relative clause from the sentence and see if the sentence still makes sense.
While, whilst. While. While can be used as a noun, conjunction, adverb, or a verb. A noun names a person, place, thing, or idea. As a noun, while refers to a period of time. For example, we played tennis for a while. So this just means we play tennis for a period of time. A conjunction is a word that joins clauses or sentences. As a conjunction, it means at the same time as, or during that time. This is similar to the adverb meaning, during which. Remember, an adverb modifies an adjective, verb, or another adverb. For example, they were chatting while the kids were playing. So both things are happening at the same time. They were chatting during the same time that the kids were playing. A verb refers to an action. As a verb, while means to past time. This is usually in a relaxed and a pleasant manner. For example, they used to while away the school holidays at the park. Whilst. Whilst is only used as a conjunction or an adverb. It means at the same time as or during that time. Again, this is similar to the adverb meaning during which. Essentially, this is the same as using while as a conjunction or an adverb. Therefore, both words can be used interchangeably. For example, they were chatting whilst the kids were playing. Another example is, whilst Ali was talking on the phone, I baked a cake. So, in summary, while and whilst can be used interchangeably when being used as a conjunction or an adverb. It means at the same time as, during which, and it can also mean although. However, we must remember that whilst cannot be used as a noun or a verb in the same way as while. Let's look at why. We played tennis for a whilst. They used to whilst away the school holidays at the park. As we can see from both sentences, they are grammatically incorrect, therefore they don't make sense.
Who, whom. These are examples of relative pronouns. Relative pronouns introduce relative clauses, and relative clauses make it clear which person or thing we are referring to in a sentence, or they can be used to provide extra information about the noun. In today's class, we are going to learn when to use who and when to use whom. Who. Who is used when you're referring to the subject in the sentence. This is the person that is doing the action. We can use it when providing extra information about the subject in the sentence, or when you are asking about the subject. An easy way to identify when you need to use who is if you can replace the pronoun with he, she, or they, then use who. Or if you can answer the question with he, she, or they, then you can also use who. Let's go through a few examples. Ali is my friend who is a teacher. Here, we can replace the pronoun. We can say, Ali is my friend, he is a teacher. Who rang the doorbell? We can answer this question with, he rang the doorbell, she rang the doorbell, or they rang the doorbell, depending on who rang the doorbell. Whom. Whom is used when referring to the object. This is the receiver of the action. We can use whom when providing extra information about the object in the sentence, or when you are asking about the object. Again, an easy way to know when you need to use whom is if you can replace the pronoun with him, her, or them, or if you can answer the question with him, her, or them. For example, Ali is the man whom I told you about. Here we can restructure the sentence to say, Ali is the man I told you about him. We can't say, Ali is the man I told you about he. It doesn't make sense. Another example is, to whom did you give the notebook? The answer to this question would be, I gave the notebook to her, or I gave the notebook to him, depending on who you gave the notebook to.
Whose, whose. These are commonly confused words in English. However, the difference is very simple to understand. Whose. Whose is the contraction of who is or who has. For example, who's free next weekend? The sentence would still make sense if I said, who is free next weekend? However, in everyday English, we use the contraction in order to speak faster. Another example is, I don't know who's coming to the party. Again, the sentence would still make sense if I said, I don't know who is coming to the party. Whose. Whose is the possessive form of who. So we're talking about something belonging to someone. For example, whose book is this? She's the girl whose bag is red. A common mistake is to use these words interchangeably. This is grammatically incorrect. An easy way to realize if you're using the correct word is to identify whether the sentence would still make sense if you used who is or who has in the sentence. If it does make sense, then you use whose with the apostrophe. If it doesn't make sense, then you use whose, as you're most likely to be talking about possession. Let's try with these examples. If I replace the word with who is or who has, the question wouldn't make sense. Who is book is this? Who has book is this? Your. This is an adjective, specifically a possessive adjective. And it refers to something that belongs to the person being spoken to. For example, we can use this in a question. Is that your laptop? Here we're asking if the laptop belongs to that person. Another example is, I love your shoes. Your garden is huge. Your. This is a contraction of you are. For example, you're so funny. Here, the sentence would still make sense if we said you are so funny. However, we've shortened the words you are to your. Another example is, you're a brilliant teacher. Call me when you're free.